Good stewards live the broccoli barometer. Now, I give the broccoli barometer as my homily every Christmas. I surround it with new stories, but the story of the broccoli barometer remains a constant. And I do it because I believe it is so important. It's a perspective device. It gives me happiness in my life. I believe it can give you happiness in yours if you truly live it. And after more than 30 years before becoming priest as a television executive, I know that all the research shows that unless you've seen a commercial at least 10 times, you won't begin to consider buying the product. So I keep repeating it. So here it is, the broccoli barometer. My daughter Heidi is 44. This occurred when she was 13, so now it's 31 years ago. Heidi lives in Chicago. I talked to her already this morning. The broccoli barometer didn't come up, but trust me, it has come up during this past week. We were at a dinner table when Heidi was 13, and Heidi said, "I hate broccoli." And I said, in what Heidi called then and still calls today from time to time, my insufferable tutorial style, "No, sweetie, you don't hate broccoli." And Heidi said, she's 13, just entering those teen years, she's a snot, and she says, "Don't tell me what to hate. I hate broccoli." And I say, "No, sweetie, hatred is the strongest human emotion. And if you hate broccoli, what emotion do you have left over for the Holocaust?" And of course, my 13-year-old daughter says, "Oh, Dad." But I say, and the barometer is born, "Sweetie, on a scale of 0 to 100, of bad things that have happened in humanity, if the crucifixion of the Son of God is a 100, and the extermination of 6 million Jews in the Holocaust of World War II is a 92 or a 93, where is your hatred of broccoli? Is it an 88? An 89? And I got another, "Oh, come on, Dad." But before the evening is over, Heidi gets the message and she realizes that her dislike of broccoli, hatred, much too strong a word, her dislike of broccoli is under a 1 on a 0 to 100 scale. Now, over the last 31 years, Heidi and I have refined the barometer. So now it's 0 to 10. Use your mind. Say, "This just happened to me. I don't like it at all." But it's really 10 or below. If it's 0 to 10, laugh about it and move on. 11 to 20, deal with it one day. Might still feel like 100 tomorrow, but you've made a determination it's not very important, so drop it, move on. Life's too full with other problems. 21 to 30, deal with it up to a week and then drop it if you haven't solved the problem. Very low threshold. If it's 31 or above, deal with it on an ongoing basis. Ongoing basis. Little perspective on my life. Grew up very poor. There were times on a Friday when grits was all that was on the dinner table. My dad was an alcoholic and rarely spoke to his children. When he got drunk, he had a butcher knife he would threaten us with occasionally. I had childhood asthma, very bad. My parents tell me I almost died several times. When I was 13, I had made the decision and gotten a scholarship to Jesuit. I had made the decision to become the first man in my family to go to high school. And my mother came and told me, Mike, you got to be the little man of the family because your dad's too sick. She was talking about his alcoholism. So I took on that job. And because I wanted a scholarship to college, I studied really hard at Jesuit, and I did my job as the little man of the family. So I kind of put my childhood on hold. In the middle of my marriage, my wife came to me and said, Mike, if you don't put God first, family second, and work third, I was working 80 hours a week, I may have to leave you. Jackie and I worked at it. I knew how to work, solve that problem. Last 10 years of our marriage were fabulous. God gave her cancer, took her home at 51. Tell you all that, not for sympathy, just to say my life is normal. I've had struggles in my life. But the only thing in my life on the barometer that I rank above 31 is when Jackie came and said she may have to leave. And I rank that up there maybe a 72 or a 75. Okay. The broccoli barometer. Trust me, most things in life for we Americans, small stuff. Not very many big ones. Let me give you a few little examples, little stories of the past 2 weeks of my life and how I use the barometer. A week ago Friday, I had a wedding rehearsal at St. Louis Cathedral. It was at 6 o'clock, and I knew to get from here over to the French Quarter, drive time traffic on a Friday, I better give myself an hour and a half, and I did. Took an hour to get from Marrero to the expressway in Camp Street. I mean, the bridge traffic, it was stop and go and mostly just stop. But after an hour, I was at Camp Street, and I said, I got another half hour, I'll make it. No. Bumper to bumper to bumper, still more stop than go going down Camp. And people were in foul moods, and especially the cross traffic. I'm going down Camp, all those side streets, I'd get to them, there'd be a traffic light, and somebody would stop in the middle of the intersection, and 2 or 3 lights would change before we could finally get across the light. Half hour later, I'm down at Camp and Common, the last of the cross streets before you get to Canal Street, and some really common guy, as I was about ready to pull across the intersection, rushes across even though he's going against the light. Stops there, and I still can't get across. I can't remember 3 or 4 lights before I could finally get across Canal Street. Now, this is designed to make you laugh, but please don't tell the Archbishop. I'm a priest these days. I have a collar on, and I believe I don't want to scandalize people, but one of the things about the barometer is have fun with life's problems. Hug them. Laugh. 0 to 10, laugh about it. So this guy at Camp and Common pulls out, and he's like the 6th or the 7th person who has done this as I go down Camp Street. So under the window, and I do this on a regular basis if it's under 1 to 10, especially in road rage kinds of situations, under the window, now why do I do that? I do that, 1, because it's a physical release, relieves tensions, and 2, it reminds me, Mike, this is a 1 on the broccoli barometer. Laugh about it. So I got to the rehearsal late. No big deal. There were people all over the world that evening who will never ever drive in a vehicle. I have that great privilege of being able to have my own automobile. Last Tuesday, I went back to my dermatologist. I think many of you know that 3 weeks ago, I went to my dermatologist because he told me I had malignant melanoma here and one here, and I had expected to be in the doctor's office maybe 30 minutes because he said, no big deal, Mike, we'll get it all, we'll get it out, you'll be fine. But my maternal grandfather had died of skin cancer, so it worried me a little bit. Well, it took 3 hours for them to dig it all out, and I wound up leaving with 38 stitches on my chest and 60 stitches in my shoulder. So I had all those stitches. I went back last Tuesday to have them removed. And the nurse looked at me and looked at my chest and shoulder and said, well, the good news is, Father Mike, you healed quickly. The bad news is you heal too quickly. You've got skin growing across your stitches, and I'm going to have to cut through that skin to get to the stitches. Well, the surgery didn't hurt because they gave me local anesthetic. Taking the stitches out, that hurt. But I put it on the broccoli barometer, and again, it didn't rank as high as a 10. I've been to hospitals thousands of times as a priest. I've seen people in true significant pain. That little pain was nothing. Put it in perspective. This past Friday, I had another trip across the bridge. My wife's brother, Lloyd is 73. I buried Lloyd's wife about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Lloyd fell in love with another woman. He married her civilly, and he asked me to go over to the chapel, the Newman Center Chapel at UNO, to bless the marriage. And I said, fine. It was early, 4 o'clock. So I still gave my time, but I got over there quickly. And Lloyd was having a party, a reception after the marriage, and I wanted to go. Lloyd's got 7 sons. I don't get to see them all that frequently, their wives and their children. I wanted to go to the party, see Kaki's sister, relatives, and friends. I got there, and my cell is ringing as I'm walking in the door, and it's West Jefferson Hospital. West Jefferson says, Father Mike, we've got a dying person here. Can you come and do last rites? And I said, well, is the chaplain available? Well, we've tried to get him, but we can't reach him. And you're first on the list after the chaplain. So I said, well, okay. Wanted to stay at that party, but came back across the bridge, went to West Jefferson Hospital. I walk in the room, and the people say, you're a priest. And I say, yeah, I'm a priest. And they say, we're a Presbyterian. Somehow the hospital got it wrong. But, again, it was an opportunity to show God's children who were in deep emotional trouble because someone they loved was dying, to be of comfort, to show Christ to them. Not a big deal. In fact, an opportunity, and most problems in life are opportunities to love. One final one, this one 20 years ago. I remember the day well. Kaki had cancer for the last 5 years of her life, and a few months, well, actually it was more like 10 months or so before she died. We went to her oncologist, and her oncologist said, Kaki, there's nothing more I can do. The cancer has spread to your liver. You've got maybe 6 months or a year to live. When we got home, I asked Kaki whether she was scared, whether she was angry with God. Kaki was aware of the barometer, and she said, no, Mike, look, I've lived 51 good years. We've got good children. God has been with me all of my life. And if he wants me home early, who am I to tell him no? But how do you feel? And I said, well, I'd much rather you live another 30 or 40 years and I go before you, but, it would be selfish for me to say, God, I want her here and deprive you, khaki, of early, perfect happiness and perfect fun in heaven. My sisters and brothers, it's a perspective device. Use it. Most of our struggles in life is small stuff, especially when we compare it to what's going on all around the world. So, we're all called to be good stewards, and good stewards live the broccoli barometer.